So from one big news to another, something that I was going to make a primary focus on this podcast before all the Lakers stuff, but the Kawhi Leonard and aspiration Clippers investigation from the Pablo Torre podcast has not concluded. In fact, it has held up this Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard Clippers trade for a couple months now. Kawhi Leonard is supposed to be a Toronto Raptor, and he is not, because the NBA has continued to investigate the LA Clippers in terms of them potentially paying Kawhi Leonard under the table, recircumventing the salary cap by having his sponsorship aspiration being funded by Clippers owner Steve Ballmer. And so that's what's been holding up this trade here. If they find that the Clippers were guilty in all this in terms of paying Kawhi Leonard under the table with his sponsorship, a sponsorship that was basically funded by Clippers owner Steve Ballmer, that is a huge thing. And there's, like I've said before on many podcasts, there could be huge ramifications and sanctions held against the Clippers. And that's why the Toronto Raptors are holding up this deal. But new news has been found by Pablo Torre in terms of Kawhi Leonard reportedly having a deal with Daktronics, the Clippers video board manufacturer. And Daktronics they do a lot of video board and electronics for many teams around the NBA. But I'm going to read you a piece, this time coming from The Athletic. This is being written by Dan Wolke. And so here it goes. Kawhi Leonard, who is at the center of an NBA investigation into potential cap circumvention involving the LA Clippers and aspirations, received millions in a second undisclosed sponsorship, according to a report by the Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast. The podcast, citing multiple anonymous sources inside the Clippers and the Intuit Dome project, reported that Leonard had a previously unknown deal with Daktronics, the company that manufactured the Intuit Dome's Halo video screen and other sports world. The Clippers have been under investigation by the law firm Wachtel, Lipton, Rosen & Katz, with a focus on a $28 million endorsement deal given to Leonard by Aspiration, a now bankrupt environmental company and former Clippers sponsor since September. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer has maintained that he was defrauded by Aspiration. Okay, that was his input. He was defrauded, even though he took money into it on his own. And his co-founder Joe Sandberg. Sandberg was sentenced this past June to 14 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to 2 counts of wire fraud. On Torre's latest podcast, released Thursday night, cites multiple sources who said that Leonard was a Clippers spokesperson for Daktronics. It's unclear when the contract began and ended. One anonymous source told Torre that the contract was for millions of dollars. When the podcast asked the company to confirm if Leonard had an endorsement deal, it referred to them to a spokesperson for a crisis management firm who said, "My understanding is that Daktronics doesn't have a deal with Kawhi right now." When asked for clarification, the spokesman said, "I don't know what the company wants to say or can say given the Watchwell investigation and all of that." According to Daktronics' website, the company produces video boards for several NBA teams, including the Phoenix Suns, Charlotte Hornets, Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Memphis Grizzlies, and Brooklyn Nets. A search for Kawhi Leonard returned no results on the company's website. A spokesperson for the NBA didn't respond to the Athletic's request for comment on the latest allegations. The Clippers have not responded to requests for comment. The investigation into the Clippers and Leonard has dragged on since last fall. As part of the investigation, the law firm is examining if Leonard had a previously unreported endorsement deal with another company, according to multiple sources who spoke to The Athletic on the condition of the anonymity in order to speak freely. The results of that investigation are currently holding up a trade that would send Leonard from the Clippers to the Toronto Raptors, the team he left in free agency in 2019. The league did not pause the trade, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver said in July of the Clippers-Raptors deal. The parties of the trade made a decision not to go forward given that the investigation remained open and any possible impact on Kawhi or his contract was yet to be known. And so, they choose not to live with that uncertainty, but that was well known before the trade was proposed. I don't think that there was any reason for people to believe that the status of Kawhi Leonard would change merely because he was traded. The investigation needs to run its course. Silver said earlier this summer that the investigation can be wrapped up before the NBA Finals And that was certainly not the case. And he said it could be wrapped up before next season. Well, next season is only a couple months away, so we'll see about that. If the NBA finds that there was a violation of the CBA, it can fine the Clippers millions of dollars, strip them of first-round picks, penalize Ballmer, and even void Leonard's contract.